Hello and welcome back to the Health and Harmony Girls podcast. We are in season 3. We are talking everything self-care, and today we are covering emotional self-care. We are doing emotional, right? I'm like, I just had a break. Okay. Emotional self-care is about becoming more in tune with your emotions, reacting to them in a healthy way, having good coping mechanisms, and cultivating emotional intelligence. So we're going to take you through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways to cultivate more emotional self-care that'll really just help you to step into the higher version of yourself and really, I think, just make your life all around better, because I feel like emotions is one thing that can really make or break your mindset and your life. You can either be that person who is giving in to all the negative emotions, reacting in all the situations that they find themselves in, and just kind of digging themselves into this negative pit of life. Or you can be more self-aware and more emotionally intelligent and notice the emotions that come up in certain situations. Use that to see why you are reacting that way in a certain situation, and using that to help you not to react in the situation, but rather to respond in a way that is beneficial to everyone in the room. So yeah, I think emotional self-care is like something that I teach a lot, not in terms of emotional self-care, but it kind of like becomes the thing that I teach a lot in what I do with my clients. And it's something that brings about the most benefits, because like I said, your emotions can either make or break you, I think.
Yeah, your emotions are so important. And I think in this day and age, you have two sides of the scale, where you have people who are so in tune with their emotions and their reactions and their actions and their physical well-being. And then you have the other side of the scale, where people are so out of touch with their emotion and they have no idea how to handle their emotion, or how their emotions can affect their everyday life. And like you were talking about, with being able to control your actions and your reactions, and being able to avoid certain situations because of your emotional state, are all points of you being in tune with yourself and with your emotion, and knowing how you will act in situations and what you need and how to make yourself feel better. So your emotional stress, or your emotional level of stress, is directly going to affect your every single day life. So emotional self-care is super, super important. And like I said, a lot of people don't really know how to deal with stress or to deal with their emotions at all. So being in touch with your emotions is going to change your life. So
And I think as well, like you said, you get two kinds of people. You get people who are very self-aware and don't let their emotions rule their lives. And then you get the other people who are maybe less in touch with their emotions. And I think you can break that into two people as well, because you get the people who have just cut themselves off completely from everything, and they're pretty much like numbing themselves through life because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to like put their faith in people because they've been let down before, and they'll get let down again. And they've literally just cut themselves off from emotions, which is like not good, because emotions, especially the good ones, is what brings like happiness and joy to your life. I mean, happiness and joy are emotions. So without emotions, you're not going to be able to feel the good stuff. I mean, you have to be able to feel the bad in order to know what the good feels like. It's like the law of polarities. You can't have good without bad. You can't have light without dark. So you get those people, and then you get the people who are just literally sucked into this pit of reaction and like huge fluctuations in their emotions, and just letting emotions rule their mind and their lives. So I think if you find yourself falling into one of those two categories, this episode is going to be quite eye-opening for you, because it is so important to be more in touch and in tune with your emotions. And in saying that, also being able to step out of the situation and react with more what's the word, like happier emotions. I don't want to say happier because happier is an emotion, but just react in a more emotionally mature and intelligent way, if that makes sense.
that was a great way of putting it. Cool.
Thank you. So I think also we wrote here, obviously I made some notes for the show, but we wrote here how you deal with your feelings. There's a lot about how much you love yourself. Having the ability to deal with your emotions in a healthy way is crucial to your happiness and your quality of life. If you feel like you are unable to deal with your emotions in a productive way, if you feel like your emotions are in control of you and your life, then focusing on your emotional self-care can really help. So I think that just basically sums up everything that we said. It's just such an important thing because, yeah, it basically sums up how much you love yourself. If you're constantly reacting with anger, jealousy, fear, hate, judgment, it's actually just a reflection of you at the end of the day. And this might trigger you, but if you are spewing out anger, hate, jealousy, that's what's going on inside of you. So that's why it's a reflection of where you are and what you are at this moment in time, because you're not falling into like healthier emotions.
I love that you used the thing of you're not allowing your emotions to be in control of you, and rather you being in control of your emotions. And I don't think people realize how many of us will enter our day, or I mean, you may not even be entering the day like that. It may be halfway through the day or in the evening. Who cares about the time? But you have people who, I used to be like this when I was much younger. I would get into a bad mood because something happened, or maybe I was upset, but it was all the negative sides of emotion. So if I was angry or upset, or I would let that emotion control me and overpower my entire day, where I would keep saying the entire time, like, I'm so angry, I can't get out of this bad mood now, basically allowing anger to control the rest of my day, or maybe even days to follow. And just to know that you do have the power to change your emotional state is what's super important, because yes, you may feel angry right now, or you may feel hurt, or you may feel overwhelmed, but that feeling or emotion is going to pass. And also it's going to pass the sooner you are able to process it. So sitting and being like, I'm angry, like my whole day is ruined now, is probably just going to make you carry that emotion longer throughout the day. And then carrying on later into the day where you're like, I'm still so angry, so much bad shit is still happening to me, but you haven't allowed yourself to even think positively or to process that bad emotion. So just remember that you are able to change your emotional state. And that's why I was saying I love that sentence about not allowing your emotions to take control of your life. Because yes, we all feel things, and some may feel more deeply than others do, but don't allow your emotional state to overpower you.
And I think that leads so perfectly into the first point we want to cover, which is stress management.
Stress management.
And your emotional well-being, because I think being under stress can lead to allowing yourself to be controlled by all these negative emotions. If you are not managing your stress, if you're not trying to actively help yourself in whatever way works best for you to overcome whatever is causing you stress in this very moment, you are going to be angry, you're going to be irritable, you're going to be judgmental, you're going to be snappy, you're going to be reactive. So I think stress management is such an important part of being able to now start this self-care in terms of an emotional aspect, because you cannot look after yourself and your emotions if you're allowing yourself to be highly stressed and highly strung all the time. So I mean, it sounds so stupid and so simple, but the number one way I think to start getting yourself out of the cycle of stress is to just look at the cup half full, like start to be more positive in your outlook on life. And I can imagine so many people being like, oh, that sounds a lot easier said than done, because it is. But like we always say, practice makes perfect. And when you start to shift your mindset, your thoughts, your reality, everything that you do, your emotions, everything into a more positive aspect, it just like gains momentum. It's like something rolling down the hill. The more it rolls down the hill, the faster it goes. So yes, you might have to push that thing hard in the beginning to get it to start rolling down the hill. But once you get that momentum, things get a lot easier. So just catching yourself out in moments where you are falling into the stress pattern is like the first step, being like, okay, I'm feeling really fucking stressed right now. that's just the first step. You are acknowledging that you're feeling stressed. And then like, what can I actually do to start making myself feel better? Because if I don't, this is going to affect me in so many aspects of my life. And it's my fault if I don't take control of it and try to fix it at the end of the day. Like, another trigger warning, but if you don't decide to help yourself, you cannot blame anyone else. Yes, you might be working in a stressful job and you can blame your boss as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's only you who can manage your stress, who can change the way you are looking at things, doing things. Maybe you aren't being as productive, or maybe you need to change jobs, but it's you ultimately who can change your life, change the environment you're in, and start to fix your stress cycles.
And I think also with regard to stress, like, it's actually so much more difficult than what you realize to know when you are stressed. And you may feel like you are stressed when it's already pretty much at the end point of your stress cycle, if you want to call it that. So you've literally gone through all of these mechanisms, and that's what I want to just touch on a little bit, is the coping mechanisms. There are unhealthy coping mechanisms that you go through when it comes to stress. And a lot of us only realize at the end, where we feel this completely overwhelmed feeling of stress, that at that point I am stressed, where before you even got to that point of overwhelming stress, you could have probably taken so many steps to avoid yourself from reaching that point of explosion. So, I mean, you may start to feel stressed subconsciously or unconsciously. You may feel stressed and you may not be fully aware of the fact that you are starting to go through some sort of levels of stress. And we found a list of unhealthy coping mechanisms, because I think it's so interesting for you to hear it from another point of view, and you might be able to go, shit, you know, that's me. Like, I've been doing that and I am feeling like a little bit stressed, but I know that I'm probably going to get more stressed. And just to be able to take a step back, if you are experiencing any of these unhealthy coping mechanisms, to be able to say, you know what, this is not for my greater good. I am able to help myself de-stress. Like, where are my emotions at the moment, and how can I deal with this better? And some of the unhealthy coping mechanisms are social withdrawal, which I think a lot of people go through, especially now with COVID and how everything has been. A lot of people haven't been going out as much. You don't see people as often, and we are quite socially withdrawn already. So now being stressed over and above that will probably make you not want to see people at all. And that's definitely not normal. You do need social interaction. So please do not hermit crab yourself. Other things like oversleeping, overeating with fatty foods, mindlessly watching TV without caring what you watch, using medication to relax you, drinking too much alcohol, and taking stress out on others. Those might all be ways that you are, or not ways, things that you are using, which are unhealthy coping mechanisms. So,
and I think, yeah, sorry, girl.
No, carry on.
I think the reason why these coping mechanisms that we tend to just like fall into are so unhealthy is because it's distracting us from what's really happening. So if you think about it, like, using medication to relax you, you're just searching for something to make yourself feel better without having to process what is actually going on. It's the same thing with drinking too much alcohol. And that's what I've noticed. Like, I've been, not that I was an alcoholic, maybe a social one on the weekends, but for me, I haven't been drinking, it's almost 2 months now. And what I'm starting to do is notice when I went to grab for the bottle. And that was always in situations where I maybe needed some extra confidence because we were with friends, or if I'd had a bad day and I didn't want to think about it, so I wanted to have a drink. You know, it was always using it as a way to escape reality, to not have to deal with the situations that I had at hand. And the reason why this is unhealthy is because you never actually fucking face the problem and sort through the shit that you need to do it. Like, yes, cool, have a weekend, go get drunk with your friends, have the best time ever, because you don't want to forget about some issue that you're having at home or at work or whatever it may be. But when it comes to Monday, you still have that problem in your life. And now you've spent the weekend not even like trying to process or think of a way to sort it out. You're probably feeling like shit because you're hungover and you haven't had enough rest and you whatever. And you just almost almost takes you backwards. So social withdrawal is also another thing. Like, you start to withdraw from people when you're feeling stressed, but people actually can help you to sort your issues, because you can talk to them, you can get advice. So you just land up avoiding the situations where you can actually face the stress, face the things that are causing the stress, and try to think of ways that you can now overcome the stress. So yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get across. It's just why these are unhealthy coping mechanisms, because people say this all the time, they're unhealthy coping mechanisms, and people are like, but why? It makes me feel good. Yes, it makes you feel good in the moment, because you in denial. You're avoiding what needs to be done. So I just wanted to pop that in there. I just thought it was important.
And the unhealthy coping mechanism is often going to be something that you do enjoy and that does make you feel good. But like you say, it's because you're avoiding the act.
And it's a temporary fix. I mean, it makes you feel good in the moment, but for the rest of your life, you still have this issue that you haven't dealt with. So I think people tend to turn to these short-term gratification kind of things, and then end up suffering for the long term because they're not actually doing the shit that's going to help them in their future.
Completely.
Yeah. So I think a good way to now, instead of turning to these unhealthy coping, why can I not say that? Coping mechanisms, is to create a toolbox of like stress relief activities or rituals or tools or routines, whatever it may be, that works for you, that you can turn to whenever you start to feel that niggling feeling of stress, anxiety, whatever it may be. So we found another list of things you could add to developing a stress relief toolkit. And these are things like walking out in nature, or any like setting that you find beautiful. Obviously, if you live in like New York City and you don't have like a beautiful mountain that you can walk through, like go to a place where there's beautiful architecture that like makes you feel like you're in a beautiful place. It doesn't have to be nature. Go to an art gallery if that's something that you like. I don't know, whatever you find to be like calming and aesthetically beautiful to you, go spend time in that environment. It's just firstly a way to get your mind off things, and just like reminds you of the beauty that is around you and that you can find within and around your life. I think meditation, we speak about this all the time. It's just a beautiful way to firstly calm the nervous system, secondly go within and speak to yourself. Be like, what is causing these emotions? Why am I feeling so stressed? What can we do about it? It's just like having a conversation with yourself to sort yourself out. Interacting with animals. I mean, me and B can like vouch for this. I think for me, when I'm feeling super overwhelmed, is just going and sitting outside and like taking both my doggies and giving them a big hug, tickling them, kissing them, playing with them. It's also just a beautiful way to relieve stress and not necessarily get your mind off things, but put your mind on the things that bring you happiness and joy. Do you want to take over, B? Like I'm talking so much.
Sure. Then book a massage for yourself. Obviously, that will release stress. Watching comedy, that's like one of my, if not my favorite type of movie to watch, is a comedy, because everyone knows, guys, after you've had a good laugh, you always feel better, whether it's with your friend or whether you're watching something, you always feel better after a good laugh. Contact one of your best friends. Also an easy way to release stress. Sometimes you just want to honestly word vomit everything out and just get it out, and you feel better afterwards. Keep a journal. So that's something we also speak about quite often. Make a cup of herbal tea. Herbal teas, obviously, this is real. It's not woohoo, but they do have benefits. That's why different plants are there for different things. And then have a hot bath with relaxing essential oils, also something we talk about all the time, which can help with relieving stress. And also, I think with essential oils, there's probably oils that are specific to stress. Mm-hmm. So that's a good one. And then read a good book. Sometimes all you need to do is read a good book to make yourself feel less stressed. But those are just some things that you guys can pop into your little stress relief toolkit. Mm-hmm. And find the things that work for you. There may be 3 out of the list that you say, moving forward, that's what you're going to use. You may want to use all of them, but definitely each person should have a stress relief toolkit. Also, I think it makes you feel better knowing that you've got a solution to your problems before they even come around. Like when stressed, I know I can do this, this, and this, and I'm going to feel better afterwards. Makes you feel more controlled in the situation.
Yes. And I think also it's important to remember, like, this is not the only thing you can do. Like, we've spoken about the unhealthy coping mechanisms. These are more healthier coping mechanisms. But I think if you find yourself in a highly stressed environment where you cannot do it by yourself, then it's so important to reach out to someone that can help you. So whether that is going to a psychologist, seeing a life coach, speaking to someone in your life that you know can really hold space for you and give you good advice, and maybe keep you accountable to doing more things that bring you a less stressful life, then take those steps. Because like we say, like, you can only do so much for yourself, but there are situations that you may find yourself in where you cannot do the most for yourself. Maybe you're too stuck in this like spiral of stress and you just can't see any way out of it. Then that's when I would highly recommend seeking out professional help, or like I said, a friend or family member who you know is good at helping people through these things, or maybe just even at helping you through these things. You have people who, like, you know, can just get you and give you the best advice. Go to those people, because yes, it's fun to read a book and meditate, but if you are too far gone, you might need someone to help pull you back out of that spiral down.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay.
So those were just some things that were in conjunction with stretch. Yeah, stress management, which is obviously one of the points of your emotional well-being. And now to carry on that list, emotional maturity and intelligence is important. So to be able to, and I'm not saying that every person is going to be able to control their emotions. It's super difficult, and emotion is powerful. It is something that can overwhelm you. But to be emotionally mature and to know how you could possibly react or act in situations, to understand the depth of your emotion as a person, and to understand how you can use that emotion for your greater good is very important to your self-development or your self-growth, or whatever you want to call it. Being out of control or out of touch with your emotion leads you to not being emotionally mature, and you need to be emotionally mature. It sounds so silly to say emotionally mature. I mean, that's what it's called, but it's like a level of maturity that some people I don't think will ever reach, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it just boils down to how much time you're willing to invest in yourself and how important you place your growth to you. Because like B said, like, some people will never reach a stage of emotional maturity, and it's not maybe because they don't want to, it's because they haven't actually even taken the time to notice that the way that they are is probably not the healthiest for them. I mean, we can blame it on the schooling system, and we can blame it on the world that we've been brought up in, because we're not taught that we can control our emotions, and that it's better to respond than react and all these things. But I think, like, you should get to a stage in your life where you're like, me reacting in anger in this certain situation every single time, it's never brought me any relief. It's never made the situation better. It's never like made me more friends or made people like me more. Maybe I should change something about this. So I think it's just like, it's so important to realize how just taking control of your emotions, and I'm not saying like taking control of your emotions means like holding them in your hand so they can't escape your body, but just being more aware of when certain emotions flare up, figuring out why, and like figuring that maybe this isn't the best way to respond in a situation. Maybe I can do it better. I think that's when your emotional maturity starts to develop, and it really helps your life in every way. Like, think about it. Would you rather be in a room with someone that you know is highly reactive and is going to lose their shit if you say something that will make them angry? Or would you rather be in the room with someone who is like so chilled? If you say something that makes them angry, you know they're not going to like turn around and go like mad, but they'll be like, you know what, I really like wish, like, let's not talk about this, or the way that you communicated to me just like tugs at my anger strings. So And this is why, like, I would much rather be in a room with someone who's going to handle the situation with more emotional maturity. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is no benefit to being a reactive bull.
Completely, dude, literally. And I think we've all been there at some point in our lives, unless you are someone that's like super introverted. But I think everyone's at some point reached a point of bad reactivity when it comes to emotion, because I literally have been there with myself. But growing and glowing.
I love that. So another thing that I think is so important when it comes to emotional self-care is recognizing your triggers and your thinking patterns. So triggers are just those moments where you find yourself and your emotions flaring up because someone has said something or done something. Now, I think it's so important to remember that everyone's different. Everyone has different beliefs. Everyone's had different upbringings. Everyone is basically different in like every single way. We all have our own unique fingerprints. And that's how unique each of us are. So you cannot react with anger to someone because they have said something that doesn't align with your beliefs. Just because you believe, and the definition of a belief is just the thought pattern that you've been thinking for your entire life, doesn't mean that it's true. Just because you believe something and someone has said something that goes against your beliefs does not give you the right to judge them or to treat them badly. I mean, this is what's made the world the way that it is today. It's caused separation, it's caused judgment, it's caused fear, it's caused racism, sexism, all of these things, because everyone thinks they're better than someone else because of something that they believe. So I think it's so important to, and that went off on a whole tangent because I'm talking about triggers, but it's very important to recognize your triggers and use them as your mirrors, because they are showing you something within yourself that either needs to be healed, or something that you are fucking passionate about. And happy days, because this means you are getting one step closer to finding what your passion and your purpose could be. So triggers is so important, and I think your thinking patterns as well. I mean, we talk about this all the time. The way you think on a daily basis can literally create the life that you live. If you constantly are telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, I will never be rich, healthy, thin, free, confident, popular, whatever it is, then you probably won't be, because you are telling yourself all the time that you will never be these things. How are you, as a person who's the only person who can control your future and your life and your actions, going to change anything about your life if you keep telling yourself you cannot do something?
Thinking patterns are like something that I think a lot of us overlook, because like we've spoken about, Rox and I, pretty much since the beginning of our podcast, your thinking patterns become so ingrained in your mind that they become just your normal daily conversation with yourself. And unless you are someone that is present and someone that is trying to be more aware on the daily, you are going to be so out of touch or oblivious to the fact that you are the person that's creating your own reality. You are the person that is telling yourself these things every single day. You're the person that every time you walk past the mirror is saying, ew. You're the person who every single time you try on a pair of clothing is doing the same thing, or you are trying to work harder at work to get that promotion, but you're the person that keeps telling yourself, like, I don't deserve this, or I'll never be that good. Or when Rox and I talk about money mindset and how people tell themselves all the time that they don't deserve to have money, or that money's not going to make them happy, whatever it is that you've told yourself, these are all thinking patterns that are going on in your mind every single day. And you need to be able to take control of those thinking patterns in order for you to become emotionally mature. You have to get to that point where you know you can break your own thinking patterns. You are going to be the person that's going to break those thinking patterns. People can sit like Rox and I and tell you every single day that you need to break your thinking patterns. You're in control of your own life. You create your reality. But if you're not going to do anything about your thinking patterns or try to break that way of thinking about yourself, you are not going to get to the point that you want to be at. And that's a solid fact. I can tell you that right now. Maybe, like we say, maybe a trigger, maybe a slap in the face, but that is an actual fact. If you are the person that is limiting yourself you will not achieve what you want to achieve. And that is point blank, blunt, in your face, as hard as it can be. Like, that is how it is. So when it comes to your emotional self-care, guys, please watch what your thinking patterns are, and like Rox was saying, your triggers.
Yeah.
And then something else that's also super important is forgiveness. And this is also something we've touched on before, but being able to forgive other people and to be able to forgive yourself in order to move on, and in order for you to be at a happy, like you said, I don't really want to use happy as an emotion, but to be at that good point emotionally for you, whatever that may be, happy, sad, content, whatever your emotion is. But to be able to be at that point, you need to work through forgiveness. And a lot of people, I mean, I think we actually spoke about this recently when Rox and I were saying that some people find it difficult to forgive themselves, but can forgive others with ease. And then other people forgive themselves easily, but really just hold on to that forgiveness for others. And I think it goes down to both when you are trying to control your emotional state or to become emotionally mature, is to be able to forgive yourself and to be able to forgive other people. And to know that no matter what's happened, like we've always said, you cannot change the past. You cannot change what's happened. You can't change what you've done, and you certainly cannot change what other people have done. But what you can do in order to move on from that is to work through it and to be able to forgive. So do the work, practice forgiveness, whether it's for yourself or for other people, and you will get to that state of being more in control of your emotion, or just taking care of your emotional side of yourself.
Yeah, I think because we're talking about emotional self-care, like forgiveness is unforgiveness is the one thing that is going to keep these emotions that you are holding on to stuck with you for eternity. And I think we spoke about this in our podcast with Thea, who wrote the book Rough Diamond, and we were saying like the only person who what's the opposite of benefits? Who doesn't benefit? I don't know. No. Yeah. The only person who, God, this is going to irritate me now, who like the only detriment is to yourself when you're holding on to not forgiving certain people or even yourself. Think about it. Like, if you haven't forgiven Sally about her stealing a boyfriend in the second grade, do you think it's affecting her in any way? No, it's
absolutely not.
So forgiveness is such a huge thing when it comes to having emotional well-being, because it is you sabotaging you. That's the like short story of it. If you are holding on to anger to Mark because he just left you in high school because he was going to a different college, it's not affecting him, it's affecting you. If you're angry at your gardener because he pulled out your favorite flowers thinking that they were weeds, it's not affecting him, it's affecting you. So I think forgiveness is just such a beautiful thing that you can do for yourself, because the only person who benefits is yourself. Yes, it'll benefit the other person if you actually have a sitting with them and say, I forgive you. But I think that happens not very often. So the forgiveness within yourself and just letting go, rising up, being better going forward is like the best gift you can give to yourself for emotional health.
Yes.
Like mic drop. I don't know what else to say.
Mic drop.
Okay, so, and I mean, after forgiveness, I think another important thing for emotional well-being is compassion. And it sounds so weird, but this is also compassion for yourself and compassion for other people. And this is super hard, especially when we find ourselves in a world that is like led by greed, control, hunger for more, where everyone's looking out for themselves and not for anyone else. Well, not everyone, but majority of people, because we are taught that we need to be competitive and that we need to look after ourselves first. But they got it all wrong.
You got it all wrong.
Compassion. If we all treated each other with compassion, with love, with empathy, with care, we would have less emotional issues. Think about it. No one would be backstabbing. No one would be hurting people. No one would be talking behind each other's back. No one would be judging. No one would be causing separation because you're too fat or too skinny or too white or too black or too female or too male or too American and or too South African. You know, there's all these reasons why we find ourselves separated within the human race, and it does no good for anyone. So I think compassion is literally the cure for that. Just like try to be throughout your day more compassionate, firstly to yourself, and this goes back to your thinking patterns and the way you treat yourself, and compassionate to other people, and recognizing that you don't know their story, you don't know what they're going through. They might react to you because their wife just asked for a divorce this morning. It's not a reflection on you as a person, it's a reflection of maybe something that they're going through. So just remembering these types of things as you go throughout your day, and just like being more compassionate in everything that you do can make yourself feel so much better. I mean, you're going to have a lot more emotional well-being if you are treating people with kindness, and you'll see that it'll come back to you. If you treat people with kindness, people will treat you with kindness too. Lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I think compassion is just like such an important piece of the puzzle to your emotional well-being, because it'll make the world better, it'll make your life be better, it'll make the world and the lives of people within you, your circle, better, and it's just going to contribute to your emotional well-being like 1 billion fold.
And also it ties in so nicely with our last point, which is kindness. Compassion and kindness, I feel like, always work so well together. They do work hand in hand. They are similar things, but are very different too. And like Rox was saying, I think when you speak of compassion, it's so important to remember that some of the sayings and the things that our parents told us when we were younger, they work, and you need to just look at the reasoning for them. Like when I think about compassion, it's like when your parents used to tell you when you were younger to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And I think that's so important when it comes to compassion, to look, like Rox was saying, someone might have had a really bad morning and that's the reason that they're reacting. So if you just take a step back and you're able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and realize that something might have happened, or they might be going through something that's causing them to react this way, it's probably not you that's doing something wrong or that's made them feel this way. And to also just use kindness in your day, throughout your day. I mean, like Rox was saying about feeling better afterwards, if you're kind to other people and you see the gratification in their face, or you see that you've been able to help someone by sprinkling a little bit of kindness into your day, does that not make you feel better afterwards? 1000%. Kindness to other people makes you feel better about yourself. And in turn, I think is almost like a happy pill. You are kind to other people, you see happiness on their face, and the happiness is projected right back at you, and it makes you feel good that you've helped somebody else. And a lot of people that are wanting to help others but not really knowing how to do it, no one's saying that you have to go and give all your clothes today to everybody that's in the streets, but you could have somebody in your office who's really having a shitty day today, and all you really need to do is be kind to them. And that's your way of helping other people, but also at the same time helping yourself in the long run, because being kind allows you to feel all those emotions of love and happiness and joy and excitement, because you've made somebody else feel that way, and it's in turn going to project on you. So I think always use compassion and kindness together, and it should be something that you try to do every single day, and just make it a part of your life, really.
Mm-hmm. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. And I love that you said, sorry, my phone's ringing and I got distracted. I love that you said, God, somebody saved my brain.
That's me. I'm like, I always have the brain farts usually. I'm like,
Yeah, I think I love what you're saying about like making someone else's day or making someone feel better, because if I honestly like look back to the moments where I felt the most fulfilled, the most happy, and the most like, I don't want to say useful, but I'm going to use the word useful for lack of better vocab right now. But it's the moments where I really helped someone to feel better, or to help them to overcome something, or just put a fucking smile on their face. Like, there's no better feeling than seeing you instill happiness or gratitude or joy in someone else's life. And that can be in any way. Like B said, you don't have to go donate all your clothes to charity or whatever it may be. It could just be like helping an elderly woman unpack her groceries into her car because she's not physically strong enough to, or is but it's harder than if you could just go and like pop them in the boot for her. You know, just like small random acts of kindness are something that you should really start to incorporate into your day. I think like if you could challenge yourself to do one random act of kindness every day, I think it would completely change your life, to just see how fulfilling it is to help someone else, no matter how big or small it is, and see how it affects their life. I mean, you're changing their complete outlook on their entire day. Might not have a long lasting thing, or it might, you don't know, but it's like literally 5 seconds of your time doing something that costs you nothing to help someone else, whether it's putting a smile on their face or helping them, like I said, with groceries, or helping someone with directions. You're just helping make their day easier, and you're showing kindness and compassion and like restoring their faith in humanity, because we all need a little bit of that boost every now and then.
100%. And I love that we should probably do that. I think everyone should challenge themselves to doing one random act of kindness every day and watch how it changes you over a month, or do it for longer than that, because it will probably become part of who you are after that. But there's so many acts of kindness that you can do that it boils down to things that can be so tiny, such as like paying someone a compliment. I mean, I have always, I mean, when I say always, probably for the last quite a few years, made it my mission that if I feel like I really like someone's dress, or I like someone's sunglasses, or I think that they look pretty, or their hair looks nice, I will always pay a compliment to someone, whether I know them or not. I am very actually scared of like speaking in front of people, and I'm really not great at like approaching people that I don't know, or like answering the phone when I don't know someone. But I'll make it my mission to go up to someone that I don't know and say, I really like your dress, because I know there's no harm in doing something like that, because that person is going to remember that for the rest of the day and for days to come. Think about if you've ever gone to the shopping center and someone's come up to you and said, wow, I really like your dress. You're like, wow, thanks, you know, and you think about that for the rest of the day. You're like, someone actually complimented my dress. It was really sweet. So you can be complimenting someone. You can be making someone in your office a cup of coffee that looks a little bit down. You can literally do anything, from the smallest thing on the scale to the biggest thing on the scale. But being kind to people is honestly going to make you feel so much better and so happy. That's the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a wrap on emotional self-care. I think that was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. I mean, as much as we love bringing this knowledge to you, I think it's so cool to talk about it, because it almost just like reminds us as well how important it is to remember all these things that we talk about. So I'm definitely going to do this random acts of kindness every day. It's actually part of hubby's last challenge in this program he's doing, but he also has to do a random act of kindness every day. But I think it's only going to be next year sometime. But I'm like, let's start practicing now, love.
Yes, start now, and then it's already part of who you are by the time you get there.
Yeah, and it really will change your life. I mean, I know for me, I always make an effort to like chat to the lady at the cashier, or the car guard, or like the person in the bathroom who's like putting more toilet rolls in, like wherever it may be. I always try to strike up a conversation with someone, or compliment them, or like make a funny little like random comment. And it really just like boosts my morale, and I'm sure it boosts them too, because I can tell you those kind of people are dealing with shitty people all day long, complaining and moaning and being frustrated. So just one person coming in and being kind to them, recognizing them, speaking to them, making them feel like an equal is really going to affect their day, maybe their week, maybe their life, maybe their year. So just be fucking kind, people.
Agreed. What a way to end off. Thank you guys for another episode, and for listening to us as usual. You guys make our lives better every day, and we hope you are enjoying our self-care series. This was episode 2. It was episode 2, and we hope you listen to the next one.
Yep, we love you guys, and we will catch you next week for another episode on the self-care series.